Hello everyone! This year we're celebrating World of Warcraft's 15th anniversary. It's been 15 years already, can you freaking believe it? And to celebrate, we're joining Chromie on some of the greatest hits of Warcraft's past. We get to tango with bosses that we defeated before. And what better reason than to sit down and do a quick overview of their story. What exactly led to them becoming such major threats that heroes were forced to rise up and take care of them? Let's hold hands with Chromie and jump right into this adventure.
Hey, over here! I'm so glad you could join us today. Come closer. Our journey through time is just about to begin. Which memory were we revisiting again?
21 years after the Dark Portal opened up, we saw the world being invaded by the Burning Legion, the events that played out in Warcraft 3. Although defeated in the past, like during the War of the Ancients over 10,000 years ago, Sargeras and his Legion forces, they still wanted to claim the world. Many schemes and plots played out, like sending the Lich King over for example, or having Arthas walk the path of the damned. Dalaran fell as Archimonde was summoned into the world. Now Archimonde, he remembered clearly the time that the Night Elves had risen up and done the near impossible. They had defeated the Legion in the War of the Ancients, sent them back to where they came from. So his sight was immediately drawn to their ancient enemy, the Kael'thas and the World Tree Nordrassil.
Some demons just want to see the world tree burn.
In order to defeat the Legion during that War of the Ancients, the Night Elf resistance, they had to use their magical fount of power, the Well of Eternity, to reverse the portal and send them back. Although successful, all this messing around, it had made the well incredibly unstable. The land of Kael'thas actually split apart into what we know it as today, with the Maelstrom in the middle. This would not be the end for magical founts of power though. Illidan Stormrage, he had filled some vials with water from the original well, and he used them to create a brand new one. Now having just fought this war, having lost countless lives to the Legion, the rest of those people, they were not exactly happy about this. He in turn fought them to be fools. The Legion had only had their first taste of Azeroth. He had seen that they would be back, and when the time came, they were gonna need all the power they could get. They had to be prepared. Regardless, they branded Illidan as a traitor and threw him into prison. This new well though, it was a bit of a problem. The elves feared that the Legion might use it to invade the world again, a fear that was shared with their allies, the ancient dragon aspects. Alexstrasza, Ysera and Nosdormu. They learned of this newfound power, and they were determined to protect it. They took an enchanted seed and planted it over this second well, which then sprouted into a colossal world tree that they called Nordrassil. The tree, it acted as a cap over the fount, and it prevented anyone from abusing its power. The Night Elves would be its guardian, and to help them with this task, to keep an eye on the tree. The dragon, they placed blessings on the tree, enchantments to keep them immortal, easy access into the Emerald Dream, and immunity from disease. That's the reason why the Night Elves been around for so many millennia now. And Archimonde, he set his eyes on their tree.
Heroes like you ascended Mount Hyjal to defend Nordrassil against the Burning Legion, for doom had come to this world.
The world of Azeroth is not without its defenders though. Tyrande decides to wake up her husband Malfurion, and then sets Illidan free from his prison. The betrayer, after all, he'd been right, it would be a powerful weapon against the Legion. The Guardian Medivh had also sensed what the Legion was up to, so he worked hard on uniting allies like Thrall and Jaina. He sent them over to the Night Elves to stand with them against the might of Archimonde. So it was that Malfurion came up with a dangerous plan. The World Tree, it was imbued with powerful enchantments. Enchantments like the ones that granted them immortality, and he believed that he and his fellow druids, they could ignite these magics, which would cause a massive explosion, annihilating Archimonde and all of his Legion invaders. But doing so would also destroy the enchantments, which left the Night Elves vulnerable to aging and sickness for the first time in over 10,000 years. The impact on Night Elf society, it will be devastating. But then again,
if pride gives us pause, my love, then perhaps we have lived long enough already.
Thousands of defenders, they died that day, but they did not give their lives in vain. By the time that Archimonde reached Nordrassil, Malfurion and his druids, they completed their work. Countless incorporeal spirits, known as wisps, they emerged from the forest around Hyjal. They closed in around Archimonde. They channeled their energies into the World Tree and ignited the enchantments within. A shockwave of blinding energy erupted from Nordrassil, shaking Kael'thas to its roots. Archimonde was instantly destroyed, and so were most of his undead and demons. The Legion's hopes of seizing the second Well of Eternity, they were shattered. And that's the moment that we relive in-game. Alright, to play through this Warcraft 3 campaign. You can see it in this crazy World of Warcraft of ours. And back then, I wasn't a massive raider or anything, but I do remember hating soloing this place because it just took oh so very long. It did make its way into the top hits of boss fights. Apparently, a lot of people really liked it, so who knows? What the hell do I know? Maybe you Burning Crusade raiders out there, you can actually tell me, what did you think of the Arkham fight back then? So at this point in time, Illidan was set free to help fight against the demons. But once again, his methods, they didn't sit well with Malfurion and Tyrande, so they banished him out of their lands, despite accomplishing what they wanted. He had also absorbed an artifact called the Skull of Gul'dan, which greatly enhanced his powers, but also made him look much more like their enemy, much more like a demon. With the skull also came the memories of Gul'dan, an orc warlock who had dealt with the Legion and Sargeras before. Now, despite being kicked out, Illidan, he had no intention of letting go of that eternal dream, the dream to defeat the Legion, and the knowledge that Gul'dan's skull offered. It was definitely gonna help. But just one man alone in this world, they can't accomplish much. Illidan was in need of allies, creatures linked to his past. He needed a naga.
Sometimes the hand of fate must be forced.
When the original well was blown up, Queen Hyjal and those that were around her, they were dragged to the bottom of the sea, where a cold, wet death was waiting for them. From the depths, the old god N'Zoth, he offered them a deal. Work with him to bring about the glory of his Black Empire, and they be transformed into the Naga. Lady Vash and her forces, they showed up at Illidan's call. They joined him on a mission of taking out the Lich King in order of Kil'jaeden. Now don't worry though, Illidan, he was still very much against the demons, but for now, he decided to play along. It was a keep your friends close kind of deal. And Vash, she wouldn't be the only one to find a way to his side. We also have Kael'thas' son, Strider. He's the leader of the Blood Elves at this point, formerly the High Elves, who renamed themselves after Arthas' Sector City and used their Sunwell to resurrect Kael'thas. Broken and shattered, they quickly discovered that feeding on their Sunwell for so many years, it built up quite the addiction. The resurrection, it had corrupted the well, it left them with no other choice but to destroy it. Which meant that they were not only dealing with their lands being invaded, not only were there so many of their kind dead, they also had a need for magic. At first, they tried to work with the remnants of the Alliance, which was led by Kael'thas. But the man, he had no love for the elves, and he put the prince on near impossible tasks. He had no choice but to ally with Lady Vash, which gave Kael'thas plenty of reason to put him in jail, put him up for execution. That would not be our prince's fate, as Lady Vash, she shows up to liberate him. Her ally Illidan, he knew all too well about magical founts of power, the need for that delicious fix. So Kael'thas, he was a new ally in their mission, one that ultimately failed, as Illidan was unable to prevent Arthas from merging with Ner'zhul. Ah well, at least they held control over Outland, and Kil'jaeden, he wasn't mad enough to instantly smite them down. Illidan, he kept working on his plans of defeating the Burning Legion, until the Dark Portal reopened, and we parted in Outland during the Burning Crusade.
Deep within Serpentshrine Cavern, Lady Vash and her Coil-Fang minions planned to steal all of Outland's water. But brave heroes like you weren't about to let that happen.
I remember that there was once a time where we speculated quite a bit about this water scheme. Why exactly did the Naga go after it? Was Illidan perhaps planning to use all this water to make another Well of Eternity? It was a lot of fun to speculate, but these days we know very well that that was not the case. Instead, claiming all the water, it just caused a whole bunch of trouble for the people in Zangarmarsh. Their efforts to drain its water, it's upset the region's delicate ecosystem. Nature's in upheaval, and heroes had to rise up to take care of them.
Well, that was certainly a toxic environment.
With her death, Coil-Fang Reservoir was no longer a threat. Though it would take time, balance would return to the land. Now over to our beloved Prince Kael'thas' son Strider. His dealings with Illidan, they didn't exactly work out the way that he had hoped. Sure enough, they had mastered the ability of draining magic out of objects or beings. The prince himself, he took a hit of Fel every now and then, but it wasn't the salvation he'd been looking for. As time went on, he started to doubt about following this betrayer. And wouldn't you know it, Kil'jaeden also didn't trust Illidan. That's the reason why he opened up the Dark Portal, to have our Force of Azeroth to come do his dirty work. And that is why he kept an eye on Kael'thas. He needed the prince. He needed the elves and their Sunwell. The next invasion from the Legion, it would come under the leadership of Kil'jaeden. But to go there, he was gonna need a portal. The Sunwell, at that point in time, still destroyed. Kil'jaeden and his minions, they had ways of repairing it though, and used it for their schemes. Now getting to Kael'thas, it was not going to be easy. Don't forget that the Legion, they're the ones that sent the Lich King down to Azeroth. They caused the devastation at the hands of Arthas, so the Demon Lord, he was very patient and waited for just the right moment. It came soon enough, as Illidan started to lose territory to us. Some of the Blood Elves, they decided to ally with the Force in Shafrath. And Kael'thas, he just kept feeding on the delicious fel magic until Kil'jaeden made contact. He put little whispers in his mind about how Illidan was holding out on him, how he could show him the true power of fel magic, and in exchange, he simply wanted the prince to abandon Illidan's side. At first, he was able to refuse, but Kil'jaeden continued on pushing. In the days to come, his words would fester in Kil's mind, and he wrote his trust in Illidan completely. News soon spread amongst the Blood Elves about how their prince had pledged himself to the Legion. Some did not want to believe these stories, not at first, but when they ventured into the Netherstorm, they could not deny it. They saw the truth with their very own eyes. Kael had indeed embraced the fel magic and became the Legion's pawn. He was their prince no more.
In the crystalline halls of Tempest Keep, Azeroth's heroes confronted Kael'thas Sunstrider, Lord of the Blood Elves, and also his 4 advisors, and his 7 legendary weapons, and, let's just get to the fight.
I really wonder what it was like to do this fight while it was current, swapping out your weapons and taking those of your enemies instead. What a concept, man. I've only really experienced this fight while farming for Ashes of Alar, so I can't wait to see it in the time-walking format. The Horde made war on Kael'thas and his followers. The battle spread into Tempest Keep and engulfed every corner of this dimensional fortress. It was there where the prince made his final stand. And it was there where some of his own loyal subjects spilled his blood and ended his reign. Yet unbeknownst to the Horde, Kael'thas did not die. Kil'jaeden had planned for this very moment. He brought him back as a loyal servant who would do whatever his master asked of him. Merely a setback, as they tried to use the Sunwell and bring Kil'jaeden into the world. Another plan that was prevented by heroes. Another setback for Kael'thas.
If I remember correctly, he suffered quite a setback after that.
And according to BlizzCon, the story of Kael'thas isn't over quite yet. However, this is where we're gonna end our trip down memory lane, and next week we'll hop on into the memories of Wrath the Lich King, and even dive into the Cataclysm. So here's me from the future after actually witnessing the anniversary event, and turns out that it wasn't exactly the Multicore or the Black Temple time walking that they did in the past. Instead, there's just a massive party going on in the Caverns of Time. We have our anniversary experience and reputation buff, of course. Quite a nice time to get those reputations up or level some out, maybe get some of that sweet gear at the end. Dance areas, there are performances, balloons and fireworks all over the place. Leroy is selling some of his chicken, so good it's worth dying for. Historians hanging out, asking you lore questions, which of course reward you with Time War badges. People are throwing beach balls around, you could check out old cinematics, buy some toys and stuff with Time War badges. Echo of Alkalon is for some reason hanging out in the corner, observing these multiple temporal anomalies. The entities, they appear to be from discrete timelines. No hostile intentions detected. Additional analysis is required. A much more hostile environment, that is old school Alterac Valley, where you can spend hours upon hours trying to earn Time War badges. Fill up your bar and be rewarded with either an Alterac Rem for the Alliance or a Frostwolf Snarler for the Horde. The battle in Alterac between the Stormpike expedition and the Frostwolf clan. I've done a full detailed video on it back then when they added the map in Heroes of the Storm. If you're curious, you could check it out. And indeed, we do join Chromie through some of the greatest hits that Warcraft has to offer. We don't see the full fights though, which, for our guildies and for myself, it was a little bit disappointing. But all the same, we had a lot of laughs with our guild team just going through these fights. If you wipe on the amboss, you have to start all over again. I'm happy to say though, that we all got our Obsidian Warbreakers in the pockets. Definitely an upgrade compared to the previous events.
Your adventures in Outland were truly amazing. The danger, the heroism, the outfits. Don't think I forgot about those.
They even brought in the quest to go out and seek great terrors that walked the land in the past. Lord Kazakh, responsible for reopening the Dark Portal in Order of Kil'jaeden. The Blue Dragon Azuragos, most probably know him for getting into relationship with a spirit healer. He was part of the Scepter of the Shifting Sands questline. That quest, it allowed the realm to open up the gates of Ahn'Qiraj, open up the raid, and you can also ring the Scarab Gong, something that they made available for everybody in the caverns. There's also the Dragons of Nightmare. These are corrupted green dragons that fell under the sway of the corruption that plagued the Emerald Dream. You might remember fighting them in Legion during the Emerald Nightmare raid. But even back in Classic, they were a threat to the world, and for the anniversary, we get to revisit them. All in all, I quite enjoyed the event, and I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. A quick overview of some of the bosses from the time periods. I'll link some detailed videos in the description down below. Next week, we'll dive into the Wrath of the Lich King time period, and the Cataclysm of course. But for now, thank you very much for watching everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and happy anniversary everybody! See ya!